Hello again, everybody. It is Gordon Majak here, back with another episode of Timeless Pop, Rock, and Soul. And since we've been hanging out in the 80s here, as I mentioned in the last video there for Boy George and Culture Club, doing Church of the Poison Mind, and then going back a few days ago, we had some Rick Ocasek of the Cars, and the Cars themselves doing that great ballad Drive, another one of my favorites. So we've been enjoying some 80s vibes here, and we are going to get into another one. And this is a song that when this one came out, what is this? Fall of 83, not long after the Culture Club, actually. So these two songs would have been on the chart at the same time. This goes back to November of 1983. Now, I knew of this artist because they had been popular on the dance charts, actually. They'd had their previous two big hit singles, songs called In the Name of Love and Lies. Remember that one? Lies, 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 yeah. I think that was 1982. Those were both number one dance records. So I was familiar with this artist from having played them in the clubs when I was a club DJ before I got to AEI. But by the time they came out with this record, and here is our artist in our album. This is the Thompson Twins, and the album is Into the Gap from the fall of 83. Let me see if I can remember their names. I know we have Tom Bailey on lead vocals. I think it's Alana Curry over here. And then the other gentleman, I believe his name is Joe Leeway. So it is the Thompson Twins, but there's three of them. I knew of them, and as I said, I'd played their records in the clubs. They're upbeat, very jumpy and bouncy dance tunes there from 82. Well, they come out with this record there in 1983, and I was not quite ready for the hard left turn that these guys took. But man, sure was glad to hear it after the fact. Remember this song? Hold Me Now. Now, when you hear the record here in a second and you hear the music, that's going to get you enough, right? That's going to take you straight back there and you'll go, oh my God, I had forgotten about that one. But check this out. I never did forget about this one. I always sort of stayed on top of this one, and I always liked this one ever since I heard it back there in the 80s. We used to just milk this album. Where's that album? We used to just milk this album at AEI back there in the day, Into the Gap by the Thompson Twins. There were so many great hits on this album. But the thing was, about hearing this song, I had forgotten until just today when I looked it up. Check this out. Hold Me Now comes out there in the fall of 83 for the Thompson Twins. And like I said, they're following up two number one dance tunes, very upbeat, mainstream dance tunes. Well, they come out with this song. It's a number 3 pop single. It's a number 8 on the adult contemporary chart. Another number 1 dance song for Hold Me Now, despite the fact that it's a ballad, which I found a little bit odd. Number 9 on the rock chart, and it got all the way up to number 4 in the UK. So this is just the absolute definition of a across the board international crossover hit record. I mean, you're in the top 5 pop, top 10 AC, number 1 dance, number 9 on the rock chart, and number 4 in the UK. I mean, that is just a massive crossover hit record. And if you haven't heard it for a while, you'll know as soon as you hear it what an amazing record this was. And all these years later, it just sounds incredible still. From 1983, it is the Thompson Twins and Hold Me Now. Great intro. Sounds nothing like their older previous stuff. Just incredible.
I have a picture pinned to my wall. An image of you and of me, and we're laughing, we're loving it all.
Synth bass.
But look at our life now, all tattered and torn. We fuss and we fight and
Great vocal sound.
You say I'm a dreamer. We're two of a kind.
The percussion.
Both of us searching for some perfect world we know we'll never find. So perhaps I should leave here. Yeah, go far away. But you know that there's nowhere that I'd rather be than with you here today. Oh, 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 oh. Hold me now. Oh, hold my heart. Stay with me. Let loving start. Let loving start. Oh, hold me now.
No bass. They drop the bass out. Did you guys hear that? Check that out. They go through that little middle break there. Sounds like a modulation, that little instrumental break in the middle. I just caught this. I hadn't thought about this before. I'll rewind it and play it here. But they come back into the vocal. Pretty creative the way they wound their way back around to the verse and the vocal. But then they do the unexpected. They totally drop that bass out of the mix there for a couple bars, just to give the full effect of isolating the vocals, and it just creates such a cool blend. And then just when you don't expect it, of course, that bass comes throbbing back in there. Just such a cool, sounds like either a fretless bass or a synthesizer bass, but just such a cool little arranging touch and such a fat bass sound that when it's gone there for a second, you really notice it. Check this out. Okay, here we go. No bass.
Please don't cry anymore.
Now, certainly, I can't be the only one who thinks that there was nothing prior to that in the Thompson twins catalog, and they'd only done, I think, a few records, but there was nothing suggesting that a song like this was around the corner for them. And then they came out with this, and then there was another, a couple other really great songs on this album as well. We'll be coming back around to one of those, a song called Doctor Doctor. Remember that one? That was another great one from this album, Into the Gap. But the Thompson twins sure caught my attention, sure surprised me, I have to admit, back there in 1983, because as I said, knowing their number one dance records, yeah, those were great for dance music, but sure did not see a ballad like this, such a really cool ballad, so well arranged and well produced. And now I've read that both Tom Bailey there, the lead vocalist, and Alana Curry, also of the Thompson twins, have said that this song was sort of a mixed blessing for them because it was such a huge hit, such a big hit across the board, such a crossover hit, that it really created some unwelcome expectations for them on the part of the record company and their management and their producers, etc., wanting them to just keep cranking out this kinds of songs. And that just doesn't happen, of course. This is one of those songs that's just one in a million, really sticks out, and it's such a unique sound and such a unique production. And so, of course, you can't really just turn around and make another one of those, but that's what the record companies always want the artists to do. Once you have a hit, hey, do 5 more just like that, right? But the Thompson twins did follow it up, as I said, with a few more really cool hit tunes from this album, Into the Gap. But man, what a cool left field thing for them back there in 1983. And almost, how many years is that? 17, 22. We're coming up on 40 years here next fall. 40 years since this record. And it still sounds like $1,000,000. That cool fat bass in there, some really cool percussion effects and keyboard effects, and those vocals. What a vocal arrangement, some background vocals. Pretty cool. The Thompson twins, Hold Me Now. That's got to be one of the biggest tunes of the 80s, right? I mean, if it was that big across the board, that's got to be one of the better ballads of the whole decade, wouldn't you say? Hold Me Now by the Thompson twins. And in part 3, here next video, coming back with another tune from 1985, another 80s legend. Well, not just an 80s legend, he was a legend from the whole way through there, 70s, 80s, into the 90s, and still is a living legend, right? You'll have to see who that is in the next video, but we're going to jump back to 1985 for another stone cold classic. So much incredible music came out of the UK there. I've talked about it a million times, and I have to just keep saying it over and over. Really unbelievable, sort of that, I guess it was kind of like the second British invasion, right? All those great new romantic artists that came out of the UK in the early 80s. You look through the videos here on my channel, and you'll just see one after the other because there was so much great stuff that came out of the UK there during that time. The New Romantic Movement and the Thompson twins, although they didn't start out necessarily to be a part of that. A song like this certainly fits right in there, and in 1983, this is right in the thick of it. It's just getting growing, right? Pretty cool. Hold Me Now. What a production, man. Crank that one up nice and loud and check that out on your headphones. There's a lot of stuff going on in that record. See you in the next one.